In this week's video, I'll tell you about treasure buried beneath this historic oak tree. It's in a beautiful cemetery, and most people walk or drive right by this tree without knowing the amazing story behind it. But first, my name is Snider. I write books, I give talks, and I do a lot of research, and I love sharing the goodies that I find with you. So let's hit the road. Greenwood Memorial Park is a beautiful historic cemetery that's spread over more than 190 acres in Fort Worth, Texas. Although it was formally established in 1909, it's still in use, and there's a winding two-lane road going all through it. Shortly after the entrance, there's a traffic circle with a big oak tree in the center. Most people drive right by this oak tree without realizing the important role this tree played in the founding of Fort Worth, Texas. In fact, this tree once had gold buried beneath it. Here's the story. In 1861, the state of Texas seceded from the Union and American Civil War began. Even so, a man named Charles Turner, who was a farmer, a merchant, and a Texas Ranger, wasn't quite comfortable with the idea of turning all his hard-earned cash into Confederate notes. That's why, in 1861, Charles Turner buried an estimated $10,000 in gold beneath an oak tree on his farm. In 1865, the Civil War ended and Confederate money was worthless. That's when Charles Turner returned to his farm and dug up his buried treasure. He then used this gold to help the city of Fort Worth, which at the time was a struggling young town, and they were rebuilding their infrastructure, and they needed to pay back northern creditors. For this reason, Charles Turner is considered one of the founding fathers of Fort Worth. When he passed away in 1873, Mr. Turner was buried in Pioneer's Rest. That's a different cemetery, and it's also the oldest cemetery in Fort Worth. I really plan to visit there soon, and I'll make a video when I do. But the land that was once Mr. Turner's farm is now Greenwood Memorial Park. That is where this historic oak tree that kept watch over his buried treasure lives on to this day. Sure. 1787 to 1987, International Society of Arboriculture designates this distinguished tree, known since the war between the states, as the Turner Oak to be a bicentennial tree, it being an established fact that it was alive here at the time of the signing of the Constitution of the United States of America. Pretty cool. Dedicated March 30th, 1990. And then down here we have oak leaves and acorns. Yeah. So we've got that beautiful monument there. And then here we have the Turner Oak itself. Beautiful, beautiful tree. Gorgeous tree. Hard to do it justice. Really neat to stand beneath it. Beautiful, beautiful tree. Whenever I travel, I look for other historic trees. And this is certainly an important one. Plaque there. So there's that one plaque there. Now let's make our way over. There is another plaque for this tree. As you can see down there, if you look down there, that's the entrance with the 4 horsemen. You can kind of see their butts right now. So you kind of come up, and then this is the first circle you see. It's really pretty cool. So what you're going to come across on the other side here's our other one. On this spot, Charles Turner, 1822 to 1873, buried gold, which provided financial aid to Fort Worth during the critical years of the Reconstruction period. Charles Turner was a captain in the Rangers, one of the first settlers of Tarrant County, and among those who selected the site for the city of Fort Worth, placed by the Mary Isham Keith chapter, June 13th, 1954. So here's that beautiful trunk again. This beautiful tree. Just think of all the life it's seen here. A little look at the base of the tree. The root system. Gotta think it's been here quite a while. When I go to thrift shops and antique stores, I always keep an eye out for old books, newspapers, and postcards that might have some interesting tidbits in them. That's how I first heard about the Turner Oak. I found this book. I'll show you. It's called Famous Trees of Texas. It was first published in 1984, but I found it and it was all dusty. It was in a corner. My husband and I were on a road trip over in Mineola, Texas, and I came across it. I was so excited. Really great book. And you know what? There actually are a lot of historic trees, not just in Texas, but all through America, and I'm sure all around the world. Now, the Turner Oak, to me, it's a really great example of overlooked history. You know, there are so many things that we just zip right by in our fast-paced lives. But if we could just slow down a little bit and pay attention to the world around us, it sure makes life a lot more fun and a lot more interesting. Speaking of books, the Turner Oak Tree is just one of many stories featured in my new book, 6 Feet Under Texas, which has 50 chapters that focus on the unique, famous, and historic graves here in Texas. All of my books, back here, all of my books are available on Amazon. But if you would like to get a free book that I offer, then I invite you to go to my website, Snider.com, and you can download the book there. So that's my gift to you. Thanks again for checking me out. Happy